Hello and welcome back to Clownfish TV. It is me, Geeky Sparkles, and you just have me for this video. We're going to talk about how Disney is moving to settle one of their many lawsuits against them. This one is over the Magic Key situation in Disneyland. But before we get into any further, I am going to be reminded by Neon to let you know that we have a Dismal Disney t-shirt out at shopclownfish.com. We also have some other designs coming, but they aren't done yet. But there is one up already. You can go check that out. I'm also going to remind you to please like and subscribe. And if you do so, you'll get a woohoo from me. Woohoo! And now we're going to talk about this. So, if you remember, in 2021, there was a lawsuit filed against Disney regarding Disneyland's Magic Keys. Magic Keys were their version of annual passes. They replaced it with this program over there. Remember the people that Bob Chapek kind of insinuated were not the ideal type of guests they wanted in their parks because they don't spend the money. This kind of ties into this. So what happened was, back in this original lawsuit, there was a Janali Nielsen who and other pass holders in Orange County Superior Court did a class action lawsuit against the Walt Disney Company regarding these passes. And their argument was they were paying the $1,400 for like one of the unlimited passes, and then they went to go reserve tickets and they weren't able to reserve for much of the month besides tickets still being available. So what was happening was, the argument is that there were tickets still available in the parks for general admission at a much higher rate, and so they were arguing that Disney was blocking pass holders. So the argument here is that during this time, that's when, I think still you have to have the park pass reservations because of COVID, so they could control crowds and make it better for everyone. And they were mandating that you had to have not only a ticket, but the park pass reservation. So when they would go to get a park pass reservation, they weren't able to get one because they said they were out of those for pass holders. Meanwhile, they were still showing as available for people paying full price tickets. Now, this lawsuit itself is only at Disneyland, but I can tell you at Walt Disney World, many people were feeling that they were doing the same thing. Because at Walt Disney World, there were three categories. One was the annual pass holders. One was day tickets, guest tickets, and one was guest resort hotel visit and tickets. Okay, so they weren't telling you what the allotment percentages were, but it was pretty clear that the allotment percentages were a lot higher for guests paying full price tickets than it was for the pass holders that paid, for one price for as much time, many times as they could get into the parks to go. And Disney was happily taking their money, but then not giving them the access that they paid for according to this lawsuit. And Disney must be afraid they're going to lose because they have agreed that they're going to pay $9.5 million to settle it. Of course, it's going to have to go back to courts, I guess, on October 16th in the U.S. District Court in Los Angeles for the motion to be heard and decided upon. But they're willing to settle for $9.5 million in this lawsuit. So it says that it was filed because it said that in Orange County Superior Court. She said she wasn't able to reserve a ticket for November. The lawsuit alleged that Disneyland artificially limited Magic Key reservations and the number of Magic Key holders who could visit on any given day, which is the argument people are making about Disney World as well. But I don't think there was a lawsuit for that one. The case was removed by the federal court. So it was originally filed in Superior Court and went to federal court in April 2022. So he said after her purchasing her pass, the plaintiff learned that she was unable to use the Dream Key pass. There's different tiers. Dream Key is one of the top ones. There are different tiers. So they couldn't make a reservation on some days when the parks were not at capacity and general admission park reservations were listed as available on Disney's website. Because they were trying to argue that when it reaches capacity, you can't get a park pass, but you would see other tiers had availability, and pass holders were saying, well, if there's availability for them, why, and it's already, even the day of, why can't we have more availability for us? And they would, we have to allow for every person. But it was looking pretty obvious that this was a case of, we have a allotment, we have 100% allotment, that maybe 25% was going to, the annual pass people. And then the rest was being split up among, resort guests with tickets and general, tickets. And that's the argument. Of course, you weren't privy to what the numbers or percentages were, but it did come across and did feel like that may have been the case. But Disney kind of settling makes it sound like, yes, that was the case. And this would have been under Chapek when he was trying to keep the undesirable mix, the better attendance mix where they make more money going on. As alleged in her operative complaint, on numerous occasions, a plaintiff was unable to use her pass to make reservations because her desired dates were unavailable, despite Disney's website listing plenty of availability for Disney ticket reservations for other categories. So the proposed settlement is going to cover 103,435 DreamKey pass holders for like a little bit more than a month or two. I guess it's a couple months. August 15th to October 25th, 2021. Now, here's the thing. The preliminary agreement estimates that each member will get about $67.41. Okay, that I have an issue with because I went and did the math for it. And it breaks down to monthly. These people were paying about $116.58 per month per pass holder. Okay. So if you're only giving them $67 and you're talking about August to September to October, a window of 2 months, they should at least be given about, $230 or so per person, but they're getting $67. And then when you do the math again, that breaks down to about $7 million. So the other, $2.5 million is probably legal fees and the lawyer's taking their money, but only getting $67. I get it. You weren't necessarily going to be able to use it every day of the month and stuff like that, but Disney's trying to settle for that. And that's not really, that doesn't really fix the situation. But when you're paying $1,400, for a pass, usually those tickets are like no blackout dates. You're allowed to, as long as there's availability in the park when you show up, you are allowed in. But because of the park pass reservations, what that did was it took availability and you had to have not only a ticket, but you also had the park pass. And Disney was limiting that. So those who paid all this money for unlimited park access were being extremely limited, which is the problem. And if it was for a 2 month span or a little more than 2 month span, they should probably be awarded 2 months worth of passes, if you ask me. But that's not the case. But here, Disney is already, settling on this lawsuit. This is one of many lawsuits against them. They have the thing in Florida, which they amended their dispute to be just free, First Amendment speech rights. We have all the class action lawsuits against them with the investors over, them alleging they were, shifting around money and were attempting to, convince investors they were doing better than they were. So we have those going on. We had this one. I thought there was more than one of these past ones, but I could be mistaken. So we already know of at least 3 other cases that are going on. And I know there's a lawsuit with a studio company that was investing in 20th century pictures projects, and then Disney is claiming that they didn't make enough money for them to get their money or something like that. They weren't getting paid what they should have gotten paid, and now they're out all this money, and they said they can't invest in other films because they haven't got the money from the other ones. So Disney is just, one lawsuit after another, and these are just the ones that we know of. All right. So this one apparently is looking like they're going to settle. If both sides agree to it, they're going to have to go to the hearing to find out if it's going to be an acceptable amount, and if they can, agree to the settlement and get it situated and resolved. But Disney doesn't usually settle unless they want something to go away because they know it looks bad for them, or they have no leg to stand on, or they don't want to spend any more money. And it could be a case of both. So once again, I want to remind you can go get a Dismal Disney shirt because we have many, many episodes of your daily dose of Dismal Disney at shopclownfish.com. It's like every day is something else, and some days, like every video we do, is some other stupidity, from Disney. It's just you can't make this stuff up. Anyway, please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.